Man versus fly. He not nice like that.
Do you see it still?
It's hiding in your braids.
What is up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Empower 610, where we
Empowering minds, one episode at a time.
And we are going to keep the guests coming. And today we have a very special guest. Nyce, what we got on the agenda today?
We got the big homie. He ain't local. He's global. He's internationally known. Locally recognized.
Okay.
But he stay out here dropping gems. And he's here to pull up on us. We got the homie, Dennis Riddick. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Round of applause in here. We need some energy. Let's go. So, we're excited to finally have this conversation. You're one of the first people to hit me up. And as soon as you hit me up, I was excited. We've known each other a long time. And just to keep it 100, I was looking forward to this opportunity to give you your flowers because I always appreciated seeing how you moved when I was out here moving as a young boy, roaming, acting crazy, but also being in college. And I can't even front. When I wrote a business plan for one to open a lounge when I was in college, it was all because of the spot you had on 10th Street.
Right.
And visiting when I was in town, I'm like, yo, my man's really did it. This means I could do it.
Right.
And I was hyped from that. You know what I'm saying? So just knowing you're a relative to one of my best friends, MD, and Easy, and you're a little bit older than me, I was like excited by that. So it's cool to have this opportunity to sit down, have a discussion, have you on the platform where I know that by the end of this and people watching in, everyone's going to be empowered the same way, me and some of the other homies were empowered.
Absolutely. Good to be here. I like what y'all doing,
Thank you.
And I appreciate the opportunity to, just speak to the community here.
Yeah, so let's start by telling everyone a little bit about yourself. Tell them a little about your background. Where did your journey start? Obviously, I know a little bit of something. The people who may have seen you on other platforms know a little something.
Right.
But let's hear it in your own words.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, I come from Allentown, born and raised. My roots are, down south roots, so I'm raised on those morals, right? Yeah, down south, Florida, Georgia, that's where my roots are from. That's where, I reside, my family resided. We were born in Allentown, big family, Riddicks. I was blessed with two mothers that, kept me on the right path, steered me out that way, out that lane where my uncles and all that stuff, that negativity resided, right? So basically, just growing up around that, I was able to, create my own lane as far as, getting into technology. I started small, 12, 13, I would go up to Hess, third floor, play with the computers. They used to kick me out all the time. But, I can remember like it's yesterday, that's, I just found a love for computers, picking them apart, programming them. And then pretty much, just going through high school, I was able to get into some classes where, they recognized my skills as far as, fixing computers, things like that. So I kind of helped around the schools, right? So that's, just a high level where, where I grew up, and that's, I got my love for computers, things like that. So it's, I like to take things apart, put them back together, right? So
it's been 3 months since Sincerely Jones. I've been talking about this mixtape for over 10 years, telling everyone on the internet. Now I have all this pressure, these labels reaching out to me, rappers subbing me. I don't know if I can handle the pressure. Are you even listening?
Bro, I'm not a therapist, but that is why this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp,
the leading online therapy platform connecting you with over 30,000 licensed therapists.
Communicate through video, audio, or unlimited messaging.
BetterHelp offers you flexible options to communicate with your therapist.
With a simple questionnaire, BetterHelp will match you with the right therapist for your specific needs in as little as 48 hours.
Start your mental health journey today with BetterHelp.
Go to betterhelp.com/empower610 for 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp.
That's betterhelp.com/empower610. I want to touch on something real quick because, you know, I can honestly say, you know, coming from here and knowing the things that I've been into and just kind of seeing the environment here. And one thing some of my old heads was always telling me, like, you know, don't fall into the Allentown trap. And, you know, sometimes it's easy to see people that had like potential and just maybe like didn't realize it to its fullest capability. And you mentioned about, you know, trying to keep your, you know, your head on straight and stuff like that. So what early on allowed you to kind of lock in and focus and recognize like you were different and you were going to go get it, what you wanted?
Yeah, I mean, for me, you know, I grown up, you know, as a, you know, early, you know, 11, 12-year-old, we played basketball, we played football. So I was, you know, I was always playing sports regardless. So I got into sports early. And like I said, you know, my love for computers, I was always creating, you know, program a game, right? So we were programming games on Commodore 64, you know, Sega Genesis, things like that, where my love for sports actually started transitioning into gaming, right? So that's kind of where I kind of start focusing on, you know, just, I played sports just because all my friends did, you know, those guys, you know, I quit a couple times. They came and got me, things like that. I can remember like yesterday, like I quit a few times. A couple of my uncles came and got me, dragged me back down to Allentown A's field. You gonna play football? You too fast not to play. You know what I mean? So just being around, you know, the other guys, you know, seeing how good they were in sports, it kind of kept my competitive spirit up with them. You're trying to keep up with these guys. You know, I could start naming 20 names, but they know who they are, right? So, but at the end of the day, it's like, you know, just being around sports and things like that. You know, it was great in this area when we were growing up. So, you know, there were some good guys. Guys should have made the lead, things like that. It's just things happen. You know,
a whole lot of talent out here, and I love that.
A lot of talent.
I love that you mentioned the sports thing because, you know, a lot of my friends I know from sports, you know, just playing basketball, hooping all day. I was a better baseball player than I ever was a basketball player. I just didn't love it no more, so I transitioned. But I love the way the sports scene has changed so much here. But then me being a whole, you know, what I call like a ratchet academic, because I do work in higher ed, you know, I see this emphasis on sport and not necessarily on some of like the other things that, you know, kids may or may not need. So I think it's good that you mentioned that, like, yeah, that competitive spirit and energy allowed you to transition that to other areas. And I feel like that's pretty much what I do as well. So I feel like that's an important people that, you know, more people need to know about. Is just you can apply what you've learned in sports to so many other things. Because when you think about it, what is it like 0.02% make it to the professional level? You know what I mean?
I mean, for NBA, I mean, obviously, you know, being around here, I mean, we had some NBA players all day.
Yeah, facts.
But they they get caught up in certain things. You know, it's just the problem around here. They have competitors. But if you go out to Philadelphia, you go out to Jersey, we used to go to Wildwood all the time, and play with those guys, now you realize how you're not that good, right? So it's not that you're not that good, it's a different level.
Yeah.
You know, for sports, you know, this is a good town, but you're playing against each other. Once you get to another level where you're in Philly, California,
whole nother level of discipline. So
Jersey City, we played at all these places, and I was like, this ain't for me.
Competition, yo, that
I mean, it's for me,
different.
but you know, it's definitely different. Like, you know, so I kind of, you know, realized that early. It's like I'm gonna have a backup plan. You know what I mean?
Word.
So I like computers. You know, this is what I'm gonna do. You know, I started early. It wasn't. You know, it wasn't as sexy as it is now. But, you know, now it's cool to be in technology, right? It's real cool to be in technology. You can see on Instagram, you got a bunch of, you know, technology influencers. You know, they flashing, you know, the cars, things like that. But, you know, if a kid's out there, you want to get into technology, don't even listen to that. Don't watch that stuff on Instagram. Technology could really save your life, and it could change your life. You know, you could go from $20,000 making $70,000. That $50,000 jump without college, you know, doing a boot camp, things like that, that could change your life. You don't have to have $1 million, you know, you don't have to be making $1 million, 100. You don't even have to make 100,000. If you're coming from doing a warehouse job, you're making 20, 30,000, and you jump to 60, 70,000. Now you could buy a house. You know, you could do other things.
Double up, triple up.
Double up, triple up. Now, you know, but the way they're blasting it on Instagram and social media is like, oh, well, you're going to become a millionaire because you're in technology. That's really not the case. but it will change your life. You know what I mean? It could definitely change your life, real quick.
So the one thing I definitely want to ask you, I was checking out some of the other podcasts that you were doing, and a lot of the topics that you were talking about was with self-education and also finding the resources, especially when it comes to having the internet, having YouTube, and even under your belt, you have a couple of certifications. Can you talk about how you went about finding out about that information for our viewers that might want to get into the tech industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So nowadays, I mean, me growing up, getting into IT, we always had certifications. It's more around, if we were going to install a certain type of software, we would have to get certified in order to install it. Nowadays, as things evolve, certifications are more based around trying to get into the industry, right? So it's more, if we have an MSP, which MSP is basically, it's a managed service provider, right? So they specialize in Microsoft, they specialize in Cisco, they specialize in cloud like AWS, Azure. If they specialize in that, they're partnered with like Microsoft. So if they're partnered with Microsoft, they have to have a certain amount of headcount that are certified engineers, right?
Nice.
In order to bring them on board and get that contract, they have to have, say, 20 certified engineers in order to partner with Microsoft.
So this is the company paying for you to get certified, or do you have to pay for the certification?
Yeah, I mean, you could pay for it. Like if I'm not working, if I'm in the healthcare industry, and say I want to transition into IT, I could go out and get the certifications on my own. I could go out, self-study, go on YouTube, take a course on Udemy, WizLabs. Those are ones I utilize. So in my situation, the company I was working for, they actually paid for my certifications.
Nice.
They didn't pay for them, but they reimbursed me once I passed.
That's the best type of situation.
So
Yeah, word.
once you get into an IT company like that, they'll actually pay for your training and things like that. That's the best way to get in, ground floor, and then you get certified up.
That's
right.
One of the things that me and Nyce talk about a lot is higher education versus self-education as well. Because even if you go into a corporate realm or if you apply to a company and you're not really going into the entrepreneurship realm, now a degree is just not enough. They're always looking for an extra set of certification. And even if you don't have a degree, they're looking for some type of extra experience. And they're always asking for that experience. And it's out there. That's the nice thing. It's just about kind of curating where to find it and going to the right place for it.
Right. There's so many different certifications because this field is so, granular, right? You can be in cybersecurity, right?
Right.
You could be in tech sales. You could be in, cloud. You could be just, an engineer for Microsoft, right? But you could get certified in all of that. Where it comes down to where you want to lock in, if I want to be a cybersecurity engineer, a cloud engineer. Now, once you're locked in, you can focus on within the cloud. I can say, okay, I want to focus on security. I want to focus on database. I want to focus on migrations. Now you lock into that, get certified in that. Now you'll have a specialty, instead of having all these different certifications. Right.
And that's great because it goes into like the topic about like adapting as like industry changes happen, because specifically with the tech industry, it's constantly changing. And most recently with all the new adaptations with AI, which I have a couple questions to ask you about regarding that.
Right.
It's just advancing more and more. So right. I imagine that in your position, you're always thinking on the realm of like, all right, how can I set myself apart from the other engineers and how can I learn more?
Definitely.
Another thing that I like that you also mentioned was that you like to ask questions. So tell us a little bit more about that. Right. As your experience going through 30 years of this industry, how did asking questions or going to a certain person or just kind of having that experience, how did that help you move forward?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so when I say asking questions, I'm more, I'm more talking about linking up with a different group. Say, for example, I come in as a pre-sales engineer. Pre-sales engineer, really, they'll go on site. You have a customer, they have a problem. You come in, you document their solution, right, that you want to present to them. You're not really asking a question. It's more, I'm not a pre-sales engineer, but our company needed a resource. So I jumped in, for this to back up whatever resource wasn't available. Now I'm learning, I'm asking questions for this on the sales team, right? How do we do this? How does the customer like to run their, their architecture? How to like they design? What are some of the pain points? And then we get down to, providing a solution for that customer. So just coming on board where if I come on board to a new customer and I don't know this product, right? I try to get up to speed, ask questions, with another team that already had done this for another customer, right? And that's how you learn certain things that you don't know when you're coming on certain customers, or if you don't know a product. I would say if you don't know a product or a technology, just dealing with people that already been there in your organization, you want to ask questions for them and then find a solution for that customer, right?
And that's a way of
sit back, right?
That's a way of hacking, right? Like, because when you think about now, right, we got Google. Imagine like people, us having Google when we were like 15, 16 years old didn't really exist. So you have answers to anything you need, right? But now information is way too accessible. Right. Whereas there's an ocean of information. So, I love that you say that, because I'm always telling people, like, it's one thing to look up information, but it's easy to create information. I can show people how I can manipulate Google tonight and put out a lie.
Absolutely.
Too easy to manipulate information. So, like what you're saying, find an expert, find somebody who has more knowledge than you, ask the right questions, and now you're hacking and saving time and being more efficient. Correct. Versus just kind of like searching in the ocean by yourself.
Right.
And my question to you is, how do you find that expert, and how do you know what are like the red flags in your opinion to know that, all right, this may be not the person to go to for this type of certification, because there's a lot of gurus out there, not only in the tech space, but in a bunch of industries that are just trying to sell you a course. Exactly.
TikTok.
So it's like, how do I know where am I going to put my money at and actually get back what's worth it?
Yeah, and that's tough right now because everybody's an expert. Everybody's on TikTok. They'll read something on YouTube and they become an expert overnight, right? So you really gotta sift through the BS. You have to sift through the BS. You gotta do your due diligence. If you see something on TikTok and they're talking about some certain technology, like you go back to Google, look them up, see what their LinkedIn looks like. Look, see how much experience they have before you buy that product, right?
Right.
That course, whatever it is, you really want to do your due diligence. Look at the reviews, things like that. There's an app out there now where you can actually review boot camps. So you go on a boot camp. It's kind of like reviews for like restaurants, where you, like Yelp.
Like Yelp.
Right? It's like a Yelp, but it's called Career Karma, right?
Oh, yep, I'm familiar.
Career Karma, and basically you go on there, you'll type in a course, and they'll come back and say, okay, well, this is this has so many reviews. Well, you have experts behind the scenes that are reviewing all these boot camps. So I say Credit Karma, but Career Karma is definitely a number one resource that I like to use when I recommend some type of boot camp or a course.
Yeah, and
doing their due
that's diligence. A gem right there. I hope y'all paying attention because class is in session.
Yes, and we'll definitely put that in the description for our followers to definitely tune into that, because those type of websites are always good to filter out all the BS that's out there.
Right.
And I love that you said that, because I be up on that stuff too, which is why I like your content and talking with you. And working at a university, I be trying to tell some of the students that, and they look at me like I'm bugging because they haven't heard it in a class.
Yeah.
Like, well, what do you know about it? I'm like, listen, you're in a classroom on books, you're already 10 years behind with what they're teaching you.
Yeah.
I'm really on these internet streets talking to different experts, and I'm allowing you space and time to hack and find these things. Yeah. And it's like, I'm the nut job. Like, this guy looks crazy. So, but that's important. We'll definitely make sure we put that in the description so you can utilize that. And I know I've seen you post different codes to other classes that you recommend as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll definitely put those up too.
Okay.
Yeah. On top of that, like there's a couple of big brand names under your belt.
Right.
And one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was, out of curiosity, when you got to work with those brands, for example, the JP Morgan, we have also IBM on there, and you even worked with the company that worked with Dell as well.
Correct.
So when you're working with those type of companies, are you specifically tailoring your needs and what you have under your belt to work with them before you actually do make the approach, or how does that happen? Because these are big name brands that they just wouldn't hire just anybody.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, the approach there, I mean, because IBM was my first job, right? Coming out of college, my first job was IBM as a contractor at Lucent Technology. So I kind of got lucky, but at the end of the day, once you put that on your resume, it's a little, the path is a little smoother. I made sure, I did a lot of work, but, as far as, it's getting in with IBM, I mean, that kind of paved my way.
Paid your dues.
Couple projects like JP Morgan, Dell, it used to be EMC. Before that, now it's Dell. But that's a huge storage company, disaster recovery, and they became popular after 9/11, right? So after 9/11, everything shifted from one site. Now you need to have two sites, right? If you fail here, if that data center comes down, we got to recover over here, instantaneously. So you have synchronous data that's being replicated, with zero downtime. You have a server here, a server over here has to be brung back up right away, right? So,
yeah, and just thinking about all of that impact, because that's one of the impacts that people didn't think about 9/11 as well, is how it changed how business operated moving forward. Speak to us a little bit more about your experience, especially your personal experience working in New York at the time.
Yeah, so working in New York was great. I mean, I was commuting. I would commute like 2-3 days a week. I work from home a couple days a week. This is before work from home. I mean, but they realized, I was from Pennsylvania. A lot of people did it. I was commuting, on a bus here from Pennsylvania to New York. Great experience. I was young. I had a lot of energy, so it wasn't a problem getting on the bus. Taking a nap, and you're downtown New York, right? Working for JP Morgan was a great experience as far as meeting people. I was on Wall Street, so I made a lot of good connections there. I learned a lot of technology on the fly, right? So you had to be fast. You had to be welcoming as far as new technology, things like that. Because on the Wall Street, I mean, on the trading floor, it's a fast-paced environment. You got people yelling, screaming. No, it's crazy.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Whole different animal.
Yeah, it's I'm fixing computers. If a guy can't get to his application, his email, they're screaming. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You're dealing with a lot of personalities, a lot of that. So it became a obsession with me, just making sure I got things right, making sure we're serving our customers, things like that, which is Wall Street. So just becoming coming out of that, I just became I became focused. This is what I want to do. I'm off the trading floor now. It's more slow paced.
Yeah.
But now it's like it's like Mayweather. I can see them punches.
Oh yeah.
This is and I'm in the zone, right? You in the zone. Once you get technology down packed like that, you feel like you can work anywhere, you can do anything, right? And I just just coming out of there, it was great. After 9/11, I end up saying, okay, well, I want to do something different, right? So,
yeah.
Even though I'm good at this, 9/11, that it just shocked everybody, and I was like, I gotta do something different, So I ended up open a bar, with my sister here in downtown Allentown. It was a corner bar. We pretty much how can I say it? We gotta cut that, but we pretty much evacuated everything, and just working in New York, I would see all these lounges, things like that. I would go into these these parties.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, this lounge, just dark lighting, nice, furniture. This is what I want to do.
Word.
This is what I want to create a lounge in Allentown. We don't have this. We don't have dark lighting. We don't have smooth music. We just got bars. We got bars with, beer,
Yeah.
alcohol. That's it. We don't have champagne service. We don't have wine service. We don't have good food. You know what I mean? So
Facts.
that became my passion for a couple years, 2-3 years, and I liked it. I was young, and I didn't really know the industry like that, but it was definitely an experience. I try to give away too much stuff, things like that. It's customer service. Like customer service around here, if you bring in, you bring in 5 guys with you, a couple ladies from out of town, you're not paying for nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
Trying to hook it up.
For me, that's all about customer service. You're showing me love, I'm gonna show you love back. And that's why my bar, a lot of people like my bar, because I actually, gave back to the customers when they came in.
Right.
They brought people, like out of town people, and a lot of people from New Jersey, New York. To this day, I'll see them. They're like, okay, well, when you open a bar back,
I hear that.
we need you. It's been happening forever. But yeah, it was definitely an experience. I got out of technology for a couple years, and it worked out. So
You were ahead of your time though with that approach. Like I said, at that time I was in college studying business. So, and obviously I was involved in a lot of other things at the time as well, but you were ahead of your time. So I knew like every time I came into town, I always pulled up on a Friday or Saturday, hung out, we chatted a little bit. But I loved that because it was seeing that, it was allowing like the learning that was taking place for me to make more sense.
Correct.
To have that customer service approach. But I'm saying you were ahead of your time because I don't know that our community, everyone was really ready for that here yet.
Yeah.
The way that is, if you did it now,
Right.
it would hit way different
Yeah.
than back then because you were ahead of your time.
Yeah.
But I feel like you just said how you took a little bit of time off from tech and you did that.
Right.
I'm sure like through that whole process, you learned a lot, and it also made you hungrier on the tech side as well. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely made me hungrier just to get back in tech. Being away from your passion, you're doing this on a day-to-day basis for 5 to 6 years, then you take a break, and it's like, okay, well, I got to get back into this. This is my bread and butter. It's your bread and butter because being in the restaurant industry, like you got a lot of expenses. You got food. People don't see that behind the scenes. You got to pay for liquor. You got to pay for all this food. You got to pay for your employees, bouncers. I had a couple bouncers on the weekend.
Yep.
So all that adds up. Like you're making money, but you're also pulling that out, right? So it's like, let me get back into tech and try to do both at the same time. Try to balance it, right?
Yeah.
That didn't really work because once I'm into something, I'm into it 100%. I didn't really have a partner, that I could leave there. So I ultimately sold my liquor license, to a gentleman on Hamilton Street. He opened a, kind of like a pizza bar shop, but it was definitely a good experience, and it brought out my passion again for technology, right? So once I got back into it.
So would you do it again? Like circling back around, knowing what you know and what you experienced, could we see you doing something like that again in the near future?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking to retire in a couple years.
Okay.
So once I retire, I'll probably, get back at a restaurant. I might go to school for culinary.
Ooh, okay.
Trying to be a chef. But,
That'd be ill.
if I don't do that, I'll probably do, I'll probably get in some type of restaurant.
I can see you doing that and evolving into a cooking show at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, we be producing. We mess around and be
Let's get it.
producing your chef show and be in the restaurant recording live. I see people walking by here
Yeah.
waving at us and stuff. So
You heard it here first. The Empower Lounge coming soon.
Hey,
pull up.
pull up.
Get your
I'm
hookah
saying.
and your interview.
Hookah and an interview
Hookah
is
and
wow. Yo,
Go.
you want to be hookah Joe Budden so bad. That's crazy.
The one thing I definitely want to ask, because did you apply any of the skills that you learned in the tech industry with your entrepreneurship journey? Because you dove into entrepreneurship.
Right.
So what were some of the things that you brought into running your own business at the time?
Yeah, I would say, just dealing with a lot of multiple personalities in tech. In tech, your people are calling you up. They're asking you to fix this, they're asking you to fix that. You got to deal with them, personalities. Some guys might be more laid back. Other guys, they might be more forceful, right?
Yeah.
So just being in tech like that, dealing with customers, helped me out, with other businesses that I started up. Especially in the restaurant industry, that's really, the bar industry is really about customer service. You don't see that a lot nowadays. It's like, they just take. I hate to say it, they take. They don't give back. When I was in the bar business, like I said, people used to come in, guys from out of town. They used to bring a lot of their friends in, things like that. I throw them a bottle. Nobody knew, but I would throw them a bottle. Yo, this for you. Thanks for bringing the people in. Boom. Now you're making relationships. Yep. Even though you're giving away that bottle, they're gonna bring in more customers. So you're gonna recoup that on the back end, right? You might not get on the front end, but you're making somebody feel. I'm making you feel special. You come in, you bring 5-6 people. Hey, let me talk to you. Let me grab this bottle for you. Boom.
Exactly.
For you.
Big fact.
Make people. You got to make people feel special when they come in and spend money in your place.
Oh yeah.
Go givers.
I don't see that nowadays.
Go givers sell more.
Absolutely.
And that's a book, actually. Of course, I got to quote a book. But that was a book I read in advertising. I mentioned it on the podcast before. So if you're into that, trust me, it works. You give away, you always get it back 20 times further.
You can't give everything away.
Facts.
But you got to limit yourself, but you definitely want to, your main customers, you definitely want to make them feel special. So they're coming back all the time, right?
And I think the one thing that people noticed, especially small business owners during COVID, is how like tech is becoming a part of every industry.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is because now with everything being more automated, with whether it be a POS system, all of this different information, data is huge. And I don't think small business owners utilize the data that they collect.
They don't.
Compared to corporations, because corporations will buy data just to grow.
Yeah.
And that's so diving into a little bit of how important data is in this tech world,
right?
And how small business owners can kind of utilize that to build a system and be able to collect data from their customers to be able to provide that customer experience.
Right. Yeah, we're doing that now, right? So we've been doing that. Data, I was on another podcast and the guy, he was talking about, sales and all that. And I was telling him behind the scenes, data is most important to everything, right? You're collecting your data. You're everybody's taking pictures. Everybody's uploading to the Facebook. You're buying certain products, that's all data. And you know how they're doing it? AI's been around for 20 years.
Yup.
Facebook been around for 20 years. Before Facebook, we had MySpace. That was that's an AI backend, right? It's artificial intelligence where it's computer generated images, things like that. So if I'm uploading an image of sneakers, right?
Yeah.
Guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna start seeing ads on your computer for the sneakers that you were looking at. And you're wondering why is this coming up? Yeah. Now when you're flipping through, you go on Facebook and you're scrolling, guess what you're gonna see? You're gonna see that sneaker.
Yeah.
You're gonna see an ad because that data was already generated through AI.
Yep.
To basically it's serving back from a database where this guy he visit a cookie on the website is the cookie tracks what you're looking at.
Yep.
So now they're gonna spit that information back to your website or whatever you visit that day. It's gonna be you're gonna keep seeing this. You're gonna keep seeing that sneaker.
Nonstop.
You're gonna keep seeing that sneaker. That shirt, that blouse that you looked at on Fashion Nova. Guess what? You're gonna start seeing that blouse on Instagram.
Yep.
You're gonna wonder why, why am I seeing this? Because it's AI. That data is tracked through a cookie. Anytime anything you visit, it's tracking it and is responding back to your whatever you're visiting on the web.
We're not talking about
even on your
chocolate
phone.
chip.
Yeah, word.
Even on your phone.
Ain't no
And
chips
AI's
ahoy.
been around for years because the FBI's been using it, CI's been using it since the 70s and 80s. People talking about AI now that's been around.
Yeah.
It just came more
it's more user
more consumer
accessible.
based now. That's
Yes,
all. That's all it
absolutely.
is. It's now we can all talk about
So
it.
it's not taking over your job. It's not doing none of that. It's helping you do your job.
Fact.
Oh yeah.
It's going to help you do your AI is going to help you do your job. Nothing's going to be able to take over your
more
job.
efficient.
Right. It's more efficient. Less searching, less data, and less access. Right. It's going to get faster for you. Anything you need to do is going to get AI is making things faster for you. That's all it's doing. It's not taking over anybody's.
Word.
No job, no healthcare, none of that.
me and Nyce have a background with marketing, and then it's funny because I would speak to people, and sometimes they don't understand how like certain ads appear of like things that they spoke about. They're like, I haven't even searched it up,
Right.
and I tell them it's like, well, your phone's constantly listening to you
Right.
because that app that you gave permission for the microphone,
Yep.
Right.
it's on while you're talking.
That's what's
So you bring up a specific brand, guess what's gonna pop up, especially if they have a campaign behind it.
Right.
And
Oh, it's magic.
they're like, well, I can just turn it off, right? And then I tell them, I'm like, well, you want to upload a video to Facebook,
Right.
to Instagram? Well, you can't turn it off because they need access to your mic.
Correct.
So it's like almost like a catch-22, and it's kind of genius the way they made it to be able to sell ads, and that's the biggest thing when it comes to keyword targeting, because now the AI bots recognizing all of these voice
Right.
and putting those ads behind it, and that I think that's the one part that small business owners need to understand a little bit better, is how to kind of adapt to that technology moving forward to be able to operate like a big corporation, because these corporations are constantly looking at those different type of changes.
Yeah, and yep, and they're you know, if I have a restaurant here, you know, I know if a user comes, you know, a customer comes in, the way they can track that is, you know, in their database, they can have a database. Okay, this user, you know, Nyce came in X, Y, and Z. He purchased X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
So I know now in my database, when I have a special, he's buying, you know, 5 cups of this type of coffee.
Yep.
On a Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Now I want to get him to come in on a Wednesday.
Yep.
So I'm going to run a special based off that data that we analyzed and fed it back. Now I'm going to send him an email
Yep.
and say, okay, well we're having a sale now because you're not coming in on a Wednesday
Yep.
to get that coffee. I'm gonna give it to you $2 cheaper.
Yep.
Instead of $5, you're paying $3. Now you're gonna bring your friends in. Let me treat you to a coffee.
What I got. Yep. And you know,
You're selling more. You know.
a fine example of this that I used to break down, and I teach this in the classroom all the time, is like Panera, where they'll be like, oh, I used my Panera card, and yeah, you're tracking every single purchase, but what
Yep.
they do is they put a fork in the road. They'll give you something that they notice you buy habitually, and then they'll throw in either something free or deeply discounted on something they want you to try that's a hot ticket item to try to expand your average customer worth.
Right.
And I would teach this, and they'd be like, no way. And I'm like, well, bro, what you think that card is?
Yeah.
You think you getting bonus
Collecting.
credits? Or you're shopping at the store and those coupons you get in the mail? That's custom based on your habits. You know, The Power Habit, Charles Duhigg, another book, is a great example of how data is used to program people's habits to, you know, expand how much they're spending.
And what's crazy to me is like a lot of restaurants come and go around this area, especially, and we understand like cost is a big thing, but I truly believe that they're just not using all the tools that we have, or even bothering to learn how to utilize that. Because if they were collecting that data, they would take it up a whole nother level. If there was a restaurant in this specific area that was going that route, I can believe that they would start a chain that could create, you would see it start popping up everywhere. Because once they have that system down, you can replicate that system and turn it into a franchise.
Yeah. And that kind of leads into like healthcare, the way healthcare uses the Epic system.
Oh, yep.
Epic's the same deal. Like they just started rolling out Epic, where it collected all this data over the years. Now when they come in, they don't have to check in, none of that, because they have all that data from that, you know, they know what, you know, when you check in, they know what you're allergic to. They know they have all your data. You have an app
Yep.
that gets all your meds. They can look at, that's called Epic, right? So that's the way healthcare is using technology. That's the way restaurants should be using their technology. They should know their customer. They should be more customer related around the technology.
Yeah, and I think this is a great time to shout out also La Vida Cafe, where we're shooting this current episode at. So shout out to Eli. We're definitely gonna help you out, brother.
Yeah, word. No, I love
Cafe.
it. Because so far, I've had people come in that have watched the other episodes, and they've grabbed sandwiches and stuff, and they're like, yo, that food's mad good. I got to make sure I go down there. I've driven past that 1,000,000 times. I never stopped in there to eat, and then they eat. So once they try it, they like it.
Yeah, and one of the things I told Eli, I was like, keep track of what you're getting most in sales, because when you do that, you know what to put in the front picture of your menu. If there's this particular burger, like in this case, like the 6 burger, and you know out of your 5 burgers, the 6 burger is the one that sells the most, that's the one you need a picture on. That's the one you want an ad on Facebook or Instagram. And collect that data when they come in. Especially since a lot of people work downtown here, you could even ask them like, hey, put your name and then also the company you're working for. So then eventually you can create a company discount for any of those workers that are coming here. And now you are attracting a lot more people.
Yeah, nonstop. He just quoted the Six Burger because that's his favorite. And he thinks he's Peruvian Drake, and he be trying to say he's from the Six and all that. So yeah, I see what you're doing. You're not slick.
Hey, it's Poppy Pisco, bro.
Oh, okay. I'm not even about to say what I normally say when you say that to me. So I'm not about to fry you up in front of company. I'm gonna enjoy this victory this week. So I'm gonna chill.
Yes, sir.
This was your one free pass for 2023.
Yeah. So I actually have a quote I came across specifically because for someone that's trying to get into the tech industry, I think this is something that they can come across it and it could kind of halt them or kind of make them take a second look. And it's all these articles that are coming out regarding the layoffs. Yeah. And this one specifically is from NerdWallet. The title was Tech Layoffs Are Really Rising and Here's Why. And it's an article that actually got posted in July 21st. And the quote says, as of July 6th, a total of 833 companies have laid off workers in 2023, according to layoffs.fyi, which tracks layoffs in the tech industry. So you being in the industry, have you had any friends that have been affected by this? Or what advice would you give to anyone getting into the industry or even that are currently in the industry?
Yeah, so for tech layoffs, we can basically say, tech layoffs always been happening. After, the pandemic, what companies were doing, they were hiring a lot of people, work from home. They're ramping up because now you're having all these cyber attacks. People are work from home. They're VPN into work. So now they're getting hit with viruses, malware, ransomware. So we're hiring all these people to protect all that data, right? So they hired a lot through the 2020s, 2021s. Now, in order to recomp for that, they're starting to lay people off. Now, here's the deal. With the layoffs, it's more technology company related, right? Mm-hmm. It's not MSP partner related, right? So you still have those jobs in the partner space. You still have those jobs in healthcare, finance, other industries, just not the tech companies. So the tech companies are laying off, not the other industries. And that's where I try to tell people to focus their job search on. Everybody wants to get into Microsoft, Google, LinkedIn, the big ones, the big guys. Focus on the other industries. Healthcare is not going nowhere. Healthcare is probably hiring the most technology professionals there is, right? That's not going to, healthcare is not going nowhere. People are not going to stop getting sick. Healthcare, finance, those are the top two. Yeah. That's where you want to focus. Really, let's say three: healthcare, financial, and MSPs, which is managed service providers. You want to be in those industries if you're in the technology. They're not laying off. You get certifications based on what their target industry is, and you'll be safe. Yeah. Tech companies are laying off, right? Not. I mean, other industries are, but I'm giving you the top three where you're pretty safe. And here I skipped one, right? Government contracting. Big one. That's the number one. Government contracting. If you can get it in the government sector, they're always hiring, right? So you can get government contracts. You can get in, with a security clearance. If I could do it all over again, I would go to, one of the militaries, Army, Navy, whatever, just to get security clearance. Go there for 4 years. You don't have to stay in, get there through technology. Now you're security cleared. You can get any government opportunity.
That is amazing.
That's a hack.
That's a hack. If I would go back in the industry, I would go through the military.
Big hack energy.
Right. Yes. To get into a government contract.
And that's great advice right there. The one also thing that you mentioned in another interview that you had was the fact that job hopping also helped you out with gaining the experience. So that way in your next job, you have more experience and you have more on the resume. So tell me how you went with that approach.
Right.
And how do you think it would be different if you would have stayed with the same company?
Yeah, so my thing is, for job hopping, I mean, it really depends what part of technology you're in. Like if you're a software engineer, I mean, being somewhere long term could help you out. Like you're growing more in the software, you're building up their applications, things like that. That's a good, that's a good sector of technology where you can stay long term. Any other thing, any other, field like cybersecurity, networking, things like that. I feel like, you're always gonna hit a stopping point where you can't get, you can't get nowhere, right? So now you got a job, you gotta move jobs, get certified, get as many skills as you can, get it on your resume, and that's how you're gonna, that's how you're gonna double your salary. That's how you're gonna triple your salary. Being at the same organization, you're only gonna get to a certain level.
Yeah, that's
you
facts.
gotta move. You gotta move.
Is there a certain time that you would recommend that folks should strategically start preparing and updating their resume to make that leap?
I would start day one.
I hear that.
I would start day one. Start day one. Learning their technology, learning how their infrastructure set up. Document it. Document everything. Once you learn something, create a visual diagram. Okay, this is what I learned today. Every day you're learning something new. You document that. It only takes 15 minutes. I learned this today. Put it in a spreadsheet. Put it in a visual diagram, and put it on your resume every time.
Similar to journaling.
Yeah, so definitely similar to journaling.
Because if you don't document it, you're gonna forget what you did.
That's facts.
You're gonna forget what you did, and I learned a lot of things, and I didn't document everything. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say, well, I did this and I did that. I didn't. I lost a lot of skills, a lot of opportunities because I did it, but I just didn't know how to, articulate it once I got on the interview because I forgot the information. Right now, if you go on the interview and you got, okay, I did X, Y, and Z. This was my problem. This was my solution. You could take that notes when you're interviewing. You're in an interview, whether it's video or phone, you can have your notes up and they ask you, okay, well, tell me about a problem you had and what was the solution. You got it right here, documented.
Right.
So you're reading that right off of the interview. You can use your notes.
Yep.
And you could tell the interviewer, look, I'm looking at the notes because I documented what I did. And I can't remember. You're not going to remember everything that you did. So here's a document. I go in the interview. I'm like, okay, well, let me pull up the documentation that we had, for this issue that we came up with.
He said, let me pull out the receipts real quick.
Yeah, word.
And I'll share my screen and I can show you. Here's the documentation.
That's good.
Absolutely.
4K.
People don't realize that. It's like, okay, well, they think they got to know everything by heart to go on those interviews. You really don't. Like, you can pull your notes up and tell them, like, look, this is what we did, how we documented. Here's, the Visio, the solution. It's right here. I can show you it. This is what I did.
Yeah, even when I worked on like my resume every now and then, I sometimes forget about certain things that I did, and then I'm like, oh, that's right, I did do this. And I can just imagine how many things I actually did forget that I never included in there. So documenting that is definitely really good advice.
Yeah. And you're gonna forget. Like when you're on a job, you're not gonna know everything. Like for me, I don't know everything. I go on a job, I don't know this technology, but I'm gonna ramp up, right? I tell the interview, I'll ramp up. I have the documentation's on the site. Like I'll definitely be able to put that in the POC. I'll be able to, create a lab, and then we can do that before we put it in production. Because anytime you're on a job, you're gonna look at documentation before you fix an issue.
Yep, exactly.
You got to tell the interviewer that. Look, we fixed the issue, but we didn't know off the top of our head. We looked up the documentation. We opened the ticket with the customer, with Microsoft, and they helped us out with the solution. That's what you're gonna do in real life. You're gonna create it.
Yep.
If you got a Sev 1 ticket, which the Sev 1 is when your system's down. If users can't access, you're going to open a ticket with Microsoft. This server's down. Let's open a ticket, and then we'll get the solution. What they really want to see is how you're going to react to that problem. They don't care that you don't know how to fix it right away because they don't know how to fix it right away. They're going to open the ticket, and they're going to say, okay, well, here's the solution. We need to collect these logs, this data, how many users were accessing the system at that time. Boom. We're going to come back and say, okay, this is the solution, or let's try X, Y, and Z to get the system back up.
It's all order of operations because they're going to want to see, like, how are you actually what is your process of going through things to actually get to a solution? And you can't always solve problems without having all relevant data, because you might triage and try to solve for one thing and you're missing all this important stuff, and you're solving for something, wasting time, and that doesn't work.
Correct.
So now you're trying to solve this whole other thing with the wrong, without knowing assessing the issue properly, and now you're wasting time. And we all know with these big companies how they use data.
Yeah.
If you wasting their time, they're not making money,
Facts.
and we're not hiring you.
Right.
That is very true. And I think this is a perfect transition into our hip hop segment of the show. So
Okay.
Nyce, what questions we about to ask him?
Well, first and foremost, let's talk about like right now. Who are you listening to right now? What's getting you motivated in the morning? I do see some different things that you post from time to time. We talk music.
Yeah.
I know you like to stay up on stuff. You're not like somebody who's on the I'm only listening to 1994 and that's it.
Nope.
And that's what I appreciate that, because I know I be listening to stuff. My students introduce me to stuff. So, what you listening to right now?
I know it's the kids nowadays. I mean, they don't have what we had, but you can't blame them, right? So they got what they got. We had what we grew up with.
Yep.
People didn't like our music. We had NWA. We look. What's NWA? We didn't listen to that. We got Snoop Dogg talking about smoking. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They ain't like that. So we ridicule our hip hop as well. So you can't ridicule these kids nowadays for what they listen to. I have a 24-year-old, so I'm listening to what he's listening to.
Word.
And at the end of the day, it's like you gotta understand these kids grew up, in a bad situation. So they're making good out of bad. You can't keep knocking them down for the music they're making.
That's facts.
At the end of the day, they're artists. They doing what they know to stay out the streets.
Word.
So it's either they stay in the streets and we knock them for that, or they make the music to stay out the streets. They're taking care of families. They're taking care of cities. These guys, Lil Durk and those guys, they got Chicago on the map right now. You know what I mean? They got kids out of, they got kids out of the hood. They getting people to go to school, things like that. They might not be rapping about that. They drilling and all that, but his music is changing up. He's helping kids in the community, things like that. So you at the end of the day, I like the young guys. We grew up on great music.
Facts.
For what we think is great. These kids think this music great.
Yep.
So you gotta. It's a balance, man. It's hard. And then you got older guys like me. They're saying, okay, we don't listen to that, and let them kids be the artists they want to be.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? They're
it.
doing something. They're doing something productive. At the end of the day, they're not they're not doing this, they're not doing that.
Yep.
They're trying to do the best the way they know how is the music. They're in that studio.
You heard that, Nyce? So next time you be like, you don't know nothing about that. We'll remind you about this interview.
You can remind me. You still don't know nothing about it. Like, I'm not shaming you. I listen to new stuff, old stuff. Shoot, there's no telling. I mean, I listen to stuff from before my time, but I heard you mention, Lil Durk. So I'm guessing, he's on your list. What other artists are on your list that you're listening to?
New artists, or are we talking about
new artists?
New artists.
Yeah.
Oh man, I like Lil Durk. I like Gunna. I like.
Okay.
I mean, I like the
Lil Baby.
Lil Baby got. And they got some good beats, man. It's like you just go in the gym.
High energy. Yep.
Your headphones knocking. Like I like
Definitely.
the beats. I'm not always listening to what they saying. But the beats are
And the
beats
delivery.
are good. The delivery's good. It's a different type of vibe, man. It's a different music right now. But I'm, my son listened to it, so I kind of take in some of it, right? I just don't get caught up in all the negativity
Stuff that
around
comes
it.
with it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because the media will have you hating everything.
Yeah.
To be honest, the media and just some people just love to hate. But now I'm thinking like all time.
I like J. Cole.
J. Cole.
Cold World.
I'm always on him in the gym. J. Cole, he gets me focused.
Yeah.
I feel like J. Cole, when J. Cole made a track for every situation in my life. Like there's a relatable track that J. Cole will make
Word.
in every part of your life. It's crazy.
That's
I
facts.
definitely like J. Cole, man. He's dope.
Yeah. So my next question is, I gotta ask you this, like all time, like who you got in your top five?
Top five.
Top
That's a
five.
tough question, man. I'm
Yes, sir.
You gotta start out with Dylon.
I gotta go Jay number one.
There we go.
I ain't trying to hear it. I know you ain't trying to hear it, but longevity.
Yeah, you can't.
It's
body of work.
It's hard, man.
Yeah.
You know, I got Jay, I got Nas, I got Biggie.
3.
Who's my other 2? Rakim.
Oof.
Got to go with Rakim. He could be 2 for me, but you know,
Pac,
if
Pac.
Yeah.
Is Pac
Rock,
in there?
Rock him is so legendary.
Pac
Man.
is man, but he's 5 for me. I'm gonna tell you why he's 5.
Okay.
He just ain't lived long enough. You know
That's
what I mean?
true.
Yeah.
He ain't lived long enough. But his music that he did put out, he died when he was 25. Imagine that.
You know,
Imagine him getting to 30.
we
Right? That output is just talk about work ethic.
What do I do? I listen to a lot of Pac in the gym.
it was funny when
I
we.
listen to Machiavelli. Yeah, pardon.
I hear that.
No, you're fine. In our last event, we had to ask a couple of questions to people, and we were giving them a couple of hip hop debates. One of them being if they had to choose between Nas, Biggie, Tupac, or Jay-Z, and if one of them had to go, which one would they choose? And a lot of the people responded, and they were saying the same thing about Biggie because of his body of work too. And some were. It was funny because some people rocked with the East Coast, some people rocked with the West Coast. So it was very interesting to kind of hear their response. So
Right.
if someone were to ask you that question, which I think we know the answer, who would have to go?
So who was the choices again? Jay-Z,
Jay-Z, Nas,
Tupac,
Pac, and Biggie.
and Biggie?
And one gotta go.
That ain't good or just gotta go?
No, just never
Who I
existed.
want to listen to?
No, just never existed.
Yep.
That's tough because I would probably say Jay-Z. I would say Jay-Z.
God got rid of his goat.
I would get rid of him.
How come?
And that's only because I want to listen to Pac and Biggie more.
Yeah.
I want to see what they can bring to the table.
That's
Not that I don't like Jay-Z. It's just I want to hear more of them.
That's legit. That's legit. It would have been really interesting to see like Pac and Biggie right now, especially like transitioning into like the trap era of like hip hop and how the sound would have been way different. That's what I always wonder how they would have like kind of transitioned into the new sound versus like just the 90s and 2000s era.
Yeah, I think
music.
the 90s, 2000s were more geared to women. You know, even Pac said it, make music for the women and the will come, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what happened. You know, he ended up being, you know, a lot of singing on vocals.
Yep.
You know, things like that happened as far as, you know, late 90s. You know, when Biggie, you know, was added here, you know, we got 50 Cent, you know, he started singing on the track.
Yep.
You know, Ja Rule,
Yep.
that was hitting. You know, he Total, you know, that was hitting. With Total
The
and
harmonies
Biggie.
was coming in.
Right. So the R&B hit mixed with the hip hop, that's when we, you know, you smoothed out like that's like that. No more NWA. We like this.
Yeah.
We in the club like
Yeah.
Yeah, word.
that's the R&B mixed with the hip hop, and we love that. Like right now, it's different. You got trap music, you got drill music, so it ain't none of that.
Yep.
You know, so
Things done
things
changed.
don't change. Chris Brown trying to keep us alive though.
Oh yeah.
So
That's Willie's favorite, Chris Brown.
yeah. He's ahead of his time. He's old school.
Yeah.
I like Chris Brown.
So, as you know, a big thing about, our podcast is self-development, reading and learning and things of that nature. Any books that you can say that you read that have changed your life or helped you in any type of way?
Technology books.
Yeah. What?
I'm big on technology. Cisco, CCNA. I read that over and over again. I'm not certified, but
Okay.
Cisco CNA is the backbone of the internet, the networks.
That's
How
facts.
everything works. DNS. How do you get on the internet?
Yeah.
How do you secure the internet? All that helped me out. Where as far as overall infrastructure, things like that. Anything Cisco, anything storage, all those type of books. James Patterson books, which is not technical books.
Yeah.
I love James Patterson.
That man's work rate is insane.
Yeah, his work rate is
The
crazy.
amount of books this man publishes
Yeah.
consistently, hit after hit after hit, like he don't miss.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I'm a big, if I'm reading a book, it's probably a technology book.
Yeah.
Something technology related. I'm not a bookworm,
But I love that because I feel like there needs to be some sort of obsession over stuff that you're into. Like you should constantly be a student.
yeah,
And it's not about school and classrooms. I always say, the best learning happens outside the classroom.
Right.
I done gave my best lessons and learned the most roaming around these streets than in any classroom. But there needs to be an obsession with what you're into. So even like, on the tech side, those out there in technology, take heed to that. And he's always still learning. And something I've always told my students too, like, you're always going to be learning for life. And I'm like, if Denzel Washington is still consistently taking acting lessons,
Right.
who do you think you are that you got a degree and you know everything?
Facts.
yeah. That's a fact.
So,
Yeah, and I'm always learning. And I'm learning other things. I like to learn how to cook, things like that. Like I said, it's other things. Trucking. I have a couple of trucks right now.
yeah.
So I delve in and out of trucking. Once every other year. So it's something I'm passionate about. The industry's always changing. Right now, it's really not a good time, but it's a learning curve, right? So
Yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to ask you about, as far as like education, I saw that you did some presentations in some school recently. So I'm curious, like, how did that go for you? Are you looking to do some more of that? Because I feel like with what you have to offer, we're gonna be able to reach people with our platform, but I feel like it's so important for you to be in more spaces, especially home,
right.
because the youth needs to learn more about this. And again, nothing against sports, but they also need to know that, like, very small percentage of you are going to make it out. Like you said, you should have something that you're also working on with that same tenacity that could also make you a living.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, I've done a lot of teaching. I mean, I might not put it on social media.
Yeah.
It's not my first rodeo, when I did that. I just don't put it out there as much as people think or they know.
Word.
But for the most part, I've done a lot of that. I've done it in, California. I've done a lot in New York. I spoke at a lot of Brooklyn schools. Just being with, different companies, Microsoft, being with City of New York. We used to go to schools once a week and speak to kids about technology. I mean, it wasn't on social media, but we did it, right? Just because it's not on social media, people don't realize I've been doing that for years. Locally, I could be more active. I definitely want to be more active locally. Something I strive for. As a minority, we're only, we're about 4.8% in technology. So we definitely,
that's the opportunity.
So we definitely, around here it's more about sports.
Yep.
You make it in sports. You push AAU. What I feel like we're lacking is, what are you gonna do if you don't make it in the NBA or NFL?
Yeah.
Technology is a great way to get a degree. It's a gateway out of poverty.
Facts.
It's high paying. The skills is there. I mean, people feel like it's hard to do. At the end of the day, I work with a lot of Indian colleagues, and their AAU is programming. Technology, hackathons. That's what they do. Cybersecurity. They grow up 5-6 years old. They go, instead of AAU and go on to little league basketball, they go to little league technology camps.
Yep.
And they're represented now in the U.S. probably 80%.
Yep.
They're in the highest tax bracket above Caucasians.
Yep.
They're number one, and the reason is we're bringing them over here for technology.
Yep.
We're sending our work to India for technology, but we're lacking that. And people don't. These kids don't realize, because all they see is NBA players, NFL players. They want to do this. At the end of the day, a lot of there's more technology millionaires than there are sports millionaires.
That's big fact. And to think about it, all these folks doing sports are all using technology. They all got phones. They're creating clips.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to create a clip, but imagine you creating and developing the software behind that.
Not only that, but when you look at ESPN, everything is stats and data.
Yeah.
So the people behind that collecting all of that, and even when you're looking at it, all of the technology that's involved in calculating these shots and calculating everything, every move of every player, there's certain even fields and certain venues that have technology implemented within the whole space to be able to do all of that.
Yep.
And that's the stuff that people really don't see behind the scenes.
Yeah, and that's data analysis.
Yep.
So data analysis is where you're taking if this guy is practicing, he's going, if a quarterback is throwing out, if he does that 100 times in training camp, they're taking pictures of that. They're going to say, well, how fast he's getting rid of that ball.
Yep.
Where's the receiver going to make his break? If he makes his break too late, we want him to go upfield. So they're taking pictures of that. They're analyzing that. You have people in the background and technology that's,
interpreting all of
that to basically create plays and things like that on the back end.
That's awesome.
I love data analysis. I love taking raw data and looking at it and be like, oh, okay, this will make sense if we do this, and that.
You're right.
It was like mad scientist
It's
mode.
underrated. Yeah,
Super
it's
underrated.
So we are coming to the conclusion of the show, but before we close out, we want to say, do you have any last comments or any last advice that you would give to a younger dentist out there?
Yeah, I mean, for me, just coming in this field, it could be overwhelming. If I was, like I said, if I was coming in this field, I would really focus on one type of technology that you want to focus on. Once you get into the industry, now you can branch out, right? But there's so many different ways to go in technology, like cybersecurity, networking, storage. You got database, you got sales. You really want to hone on a one technology, and then pretty much once you're in, now you can branch out, right? Focus on one type of technology, right? So,
how can folks follow you? Where can they get more information?
I'm on LinkedIn. You can search for Dennis Riddick. That's my main platform where I use, as far as, work, things like that. If you want to link up with me, we can do a Calendly. We'll set up a meeting. If you want to get some information, one-on-one, things like that, LinkedIn is the best way to reach me. I do have Instagram. I'm at Riddick Tech. I post some jewels on my story once in a while. Once a week, things like that, where if you're trying to get into technology, I try to help you out that way as well. It's more personal for me, but at the end of the day, like I said, you can reach me on LinkedIn. Just search for me on at Dennis Riddick.
So I can't let this end just off of that. So back in the day, you and I, we used to talk hoops a lot.
Right.
We got to watch a lot of the finals with Heat versus Spurs back in what year was that, 2013. So I can't let you slide without figuring out, and I want you to tell the people, like, who's the GOAT in hoops?
MJ, Michael Jordan, baby.
I had to ask. You heard it. MJ's the GOAT.
MJ's the GOAT.
So no LeBron love.
I love LeBron. That's my man.
But MJ's the
That's
GOAT.
my dog. MJ's the GOAT. I love LeBron though.
Yeah, I remember.
LeBron different. Like he
is different.
He's big, 6'8", 6'9". He can shoot it. He'll run you over and play D. So
yeah.
But it's just I grew up watching the Michael Jordan.
Killer.
So that's we ain't gonna debate that right now.
I hear that. Yeah, I always see that on the line. Everybody loves to have a debate. You know what I mean? So, but
yeah, it's a good debate. I mean, I like it's all in fun.
That's where the data comes in for everyone.
That's where the data comes in. Everybody's
stats.
Everybody's analysis.
Yeah.
Data analysis when it comes to them too. It's crazy.
Regurgitating ESPN all day.
Right.
So,
well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Empower 610. Make sure that if you're watching this from YouTube to subscribe.
And streaming platforms coming soon.